Found my gift for Mom in the trash. An hour later, they realized what they threw away and the calls started. I've always been the good daughter, or at least, the useful one. That's the reputation that follows Layla, the one who left our small town, got a fancy degree, and landed a high-paying job in the city. I'm in my mid-30s, single, and according to my family, blissfully free of the real responsibilities that plague my older siblings, Chloe and Ethan. They both have spouses, kids, mortgages, and all the expected trappings of adulthood that, in my family's eyes, automatically make them more deserving of sympathy and support. My success wasn't a source of pride. It was a communal resource, a well everyone was entitled to draw from. For years, I'd been sending money home. It started small, helping out with a bill here or there. Then it became a regular monthly transfer, a significant chunk of my salary that was supposed to help my parents with groceries and utilities. Over time, it escalated. There was the time I paid for Ethan's roof repair when a storm hit. Another time, I covered Chloe's emergency vet bill because their dog was like family. Just last month, I wired them money for a new refrigerator because the old one died, and they insisted they couldn't possibly afford it right before the holidays. Each request came with a heavy sigh and a reminder of how tough things were, how lucky I was to have so much freedom and so few bills compared to them. They rarely said thank you. It was more like an expectation, an obligation I was fulfilling because, well, what else was I going to do with my money? I didn't have kids' braces to pay for or college funds to build. My money was, in their eyes, disposable income meant to subsidize their lives. My brother and sister reinforced this subtly. They'd talk about their financial struggles loudly whenever I was around, casting pointed looks. Their gifts to our parents were always sentimental or experiential, a photo album, a weekend getaway they chipped in for together. Gifts that earned tears and effusive praise. Mine were always practical, often monetary, and received with a nod, sometimes even a comment about whether it was enough. Uncle Robert, my mom's brother, was particularly bad. He lived nearby and was often at family gatherings. Every time he saw me, it was the same conversation starter, usually within 5 minutes of my arrival. "Layla, still out there making all that money, are we? Good for you. Must be nice having no one but yourself to worry about. Your folks could sure use a hand with the bills, you know." It wasn't subtle. It felt like being assessed for my net worth every time I walked through the door. He was another voice validating their belief that my financial resources were family property. Part of me resented it fiercely. I worked hard for my money. I had dreams and goals for my own future that required saving and planning. But another deeper part of me craved their approval so desperately. I kept hoping that if I gave enough, if I proved my usefulness and generosity beyond a shadow of a doubt, they would finally look at me with genuine appreciation, not just as a walking ATM. This Christmas, I decided I would make a gesture so significant, so impactful, that it couldn't possibly be overlooked or dismissed. My parents had been talking nonstop about how they were worried about the mortgage. Interest rates were rising. Their payments felt insurmountable, and the stress was affecting my dad's health. They talked about having to sell, downsizing, leaving the home they'd lived in for 30 years. It was their biggest source of anxiety. I had a substantial amount saved, initially earmarked for a down payment on a place of my own, maybe a small investment property. But the idea took root. I would pay off their mortgage. Completely. It was a staggering amount of money for me, representing years of careful budgeting and sacrifice on my part. It wasn't just paying a bill. It was giving them freedom, security, peace of mind in their retirement. This would show them how much I loved them, how much I cared about their well-being, beyond the monthly transfers. This had to be the gift that finally changed things. I contacted their bank, navigated the complex process, and finally received the official mortgage payoff statement and the documents confirming the process. Holding the envelope in my hands, my heart pounded. This was it. This was my chance to prove my love in a way that was tangible, life-changing. I carefully placed the documents inside a plain, elegant envelope and wrote a heartfelt letter explaining what it was: the mortgage payoff, a gift of security and peace, my hope for their stress-free future in their beloved home. I talked to my best friend Sarah about it. She listened patiently, her brow furrowed slightly. "Layla, that's incredibly generous. Like, life-changing generous. But, knowing your family, are you sure they'll get it? Are you sure they'll see you in this gift, and not just the money? Her words echoed my own deepest fear, but I pushed it down. This time would be different. It had to be. The days leading up to Christmas were a blur of nervous anticipation. I wrapped the envelope simply, focusing on the significance of the contents rather than elaborate packaging. I practiced in my head what I would say, how I would present it. A part of me felt a quiet pride in what I was doing. The larger part just felt sick with nerves, praying this would finally be enough. Christmas Eve arrived. I drove to my parents' house, the envelope with the mortgage documents tucked safely in my bag. The house was bright with lights, carols played softly, and the smell of roasting turkey filled the air. On the surface, it was the picture-perfect family Christmas. But beneath the festive veneer, I felt the familiar tension, the subtle undercurrent of expectation and judgment. Ethan and Chloe were already there with their families. Their kids ran around, adding to the cheerful chaos. Everyone greeted me warmly, but the conversations quickly drifted to work, my salary, and my single status. Still flying solo, Layla? Uncle Robert boomed, patting my back a little too hard. Lots of time for jet-setting and spending that big city money, My mom laughed, but it felt forced. Oh, Layla's always been the independent one. We just worry about her being lonely. My sister, Chloe, sidled up to me later. Made any big purchases lately, Layla? We're just wondering if you found something useful for Mom and Dad this year. Something they actually need. Her tone was light, but her eyes were calculating. After dinner, it was time for presents. Ethan and Chloe went first, standing together with broad smiles. Mom, Dad, everyone. Ethan announced, holding up a glossy brochure. For your Christmas gift this year, Chloe and I have booked and paid for a 7-day Caribbean cruise for you next summer. The room erupted. My parents gasped, tears welling up in my mom's eyes as she rushed to hug them both. Oh, my babies. A cruise. We've always dreamed of a cruise. This is the most wonderful gift. Everyone applauded, oohing and awing over the itinerary in the brochure. Conversations immediately revolved around ports of call, onboard activities, and finding someone to look after the house while they were away. My turn came next, almost as an afterthought once the cruise excitement had somewhat subsided. My dad gestured towards me. Okay, Layla, what did you bring? All eyes turned to me. I stepped forward, feeling a strange detachment, the earlier nervousness replaced by a hollow ache. I handed the simple envelope to my mom. Mom, Dad, I said, keeping my voice steady. This is something important for you. It's about your future, your security. Mom took the envelope, her smile fading slightly as she examined the plain paper. Oh, just papers, she said, a hint of disappointment in her voice. Chloe snickered quietly, and I heard Uncle Robert murmur, Layla's sensible gifts, always something practical. My dad gave a brief nod. Well, thank you, Layla. We'll look at it later. My mom placed the envelope on the credenza by the door, next to a stack of mail, completely forgotten as she returned to discussing deck plans for the cruise. It felt like a physical blow. All the hopes, the sacrifice, the desire to finally be seen and appreciated, reduced to just papers and tossed aside for a vacation. The contrast was agonizing. They were overjoyed by a temporary pleasure, a trip they'd likely need help paying for incidentals on anyway, while the gift of permanent security and freedom from debt was dismissed without a glance. The familiar feeling of being the invisible ATM, the source of funds but not a source of valuable gestures or love, washed over me. I wanted to scream, to grab the envelope and yell, "This is your house. This is freedom." But I bit my tongue, swallowing the bitter disappointment. I couldn't make a scene. Not on Christmas. I tried to participate in the ongoing conversations, forcing smiles, but my heart wasn't in it. The air felt thick with unspoken expectations and crushing disregard. I needed to get out, just for a moment. Excusing myself, I headed towards the kitchen, ostensibly to get a glass of water. That's when I saw it. The envelope. My gift. The culmination of my hopes and sacrifice. It wasn't on the credenza anymore. It was on the kitchen counter, pushed towards the edge near the recycling bin. It was crumpled, the corner bent, and there was a distinct dark ring stain on it, like someone had carelessly set a wet glass down on it. The flap was open, but it didn't look like it had been opened carefully to read a precious letter. It looked like it had been ripped open, glanced at without interest, and then discarded like junk mail. I stood frozen, staring at it. My breath hitched. Discarded. Crumpled. Stained. Treated like trash. It wasn't accidental. This was deliberate carelessness, a physical manifestation of their utter lack of value for my gesture. The years of feeling taken for granted, of being seen only as a financial resource, condensed into this single, devastating image. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the disrespect. The complete, utter lack of respect for me as a person, as a daughter who had tried, in the biggest way possible, to show her love. My mother walked into the kitchen then, still beaming from the cruise talk. "Oh, Layla, there you are. Aren't Ethan and Chloe just the most thoughtful children? A cruise. Can you believe it?" She stopped, seeing where I was looking. Her eyes followed my gaze to the counter, to the crumpled, stained envelope. Her smile faltered. "Mom." My voice was barely a whisper, cold and raw. I picked up the envelope, holding it out to her. Why is this here? Did you even look at it?" Her eyes darted nervously. "Oh, that. Yes, well, it just looked like bank stuff. You know how confusing those papers are. We'll look at it later, darling, don't you worry." She reached out as if to take it back, but I pulled it away. "Bank stuff?" My voice gained strength, though it trembled slightly. "Mom, that was the payoff notice for your mortgage. I paid off the rest of your house." That envelope contained the documents confirming it. Her face went slack. The color drained from it instantly. "What?" she breathed, her eyes wide with sudden, panicked understanding. "Layla, no, you didn't. You can't mean the house." "Yes, the house," I said, the pain in my voice hardening into resolve. "My gift. Something important for your future, remember? This is how you treated it." I gestured to the crumpled paper, the stain. "Like junk. Like it didn't matter." She started sputtering excuses. No, darling, it must have been a mistake. Someone must have moved it. We didn't realize. We thought it was just bills." "Bills?" I repeated, a bitter laugh escaping my lips. "My gift to free you from 30 years of bills, and you tossed it aside for a glossy brochure about a 7-day boat trip." "I see." The clarity that hit me was sharp and absolute. All the years, all the money, all the hoping, it had been for nothing. They would never see me. They would only ever see the resource. "I'm done," I stated, my voice now clear and steady. "Done hoping, done trying, done being the bank." I turned and walked out of the kitchen, leaving my stunned mother behind. I didn't go back to the living room. I walked straight to the front door, grabbed my coat and bag, the crumpled envelope still in my hand. On the way out, I paused for a second, looking back at the scene of forced festivity, the laughter, the talk of cruises. None of it felt real anymore. Opening the front door, I stepped out into the cold night air. "Enjoy the cruise," I said, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear, though I didn't look back. "And good luck figuring out how to pay for everything else now." And I walked away, leaving the Christmas lights and the sounds of my family behind. No one called after me. No one came out to stop me. Or maybe they just didn't realize what they had truly lost yet. Back in my quiet apartment, the silence was deafening after the forced cheer of the party. I tossed the crumpled envelope onto my coffee table, a bitter souvenir. The pain was still there, but it was mixed with a profound sense of liberation. The cord had been cut, brutally, messily, but it was cut. I pulled out my phone, went to my banking app, and with a few taps, canceled the recurring monthly transfer to my parents' account. 3 years. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Done. It wasn't an hour later, maybe 45 minutes, that my phone started ringing. It was Mom. I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over the ignore button. It rang again. And again. And again. And again. Missed call notifications flooded my screen. Texts started coming in, frantic, confused, then demanding. Finally, on the 6th call, I answered. My voice was calm, emotionless. "Hello. Layla." "Oh, Layla, darling, thank God." My mother's voice was a frantic mix of panic and forced sweetness. Why did you leave? And what was in that envelope? Your father opened it after you left. He says it was about the mortgage. Yes, Mom, I said flatly. As I told you. It was the mortgage payoff. My Christmas gift. A choked sob came from her end. Oh, Layla. We didn't realize. It just looked like business papers. We would never have. Oh, it must have been a mistake. Someone must have put it there. I saw it, Mom. I interrupted, my voice still steady. On the counter. Crumpled. Stained. Right where you left it after glancing inside. It wasn't a mistake. It was carelessness. Disregard. Like everything else I've tried to give you. No. That's not true. We were distracted by the cruise, she wailed, her voice escalating. But Layla, honey, the house. You paid off the house. That's millions. You can't take that back. I already have, I said. The offer is rescinded. The bank has been notified. Silence on the other end, except for Mom's ragged breathing. Then, the tone shifted from pleading to furious. You can't. That's our house. You promised. After everything we've done for you. We raised you. We sacrificed. Sacrifices. I laughed, a short, humorless sound. What sacrifices, Mom? In the last 20 years, what have you sacrificed for me? Besides your pride, having to ask your wealthy daughter for money. You ungrateful child. We gave you life, she shrieked. And I've been paying you back for it ever since, I retorted, the years of suppressed anger finally surfacing, cold and sharp. With interest. With every bill, every emergency, every monthly transfer. And I'm done. The mortgage payoff is off the table. And the monthly allowance? Also done. You'll need to find another way to manage your finances from now on. The string of furious, hurtful words that followed was a torrent of emotional abuse, accusations, insults, dire predictions of my lonely future. I listened for a minute, letting the venom wash over me. It hurt, but it also confirmed that I had made the right decision. Goodbye, Mom, I said finally, cutting through her rant. I hung up before she could say anything else. The phone immediately began ringing again. Ethan. Then Chloe. Their messages were a mix of feigned concern and thinly veiled anger, all circling back to the money, to the house. I ignored them all. I went through my contacts and blocked my parents' numbers. Then Ethan's, then Chloe's. I blocked them on social media too. It felt brutal, final, but also incredibly necessary. It was like surgically removing a toxic growth that had been slowly poisoning me for years. The weeks that followed were strange. There were no more Sunday afternoon calls filled with thinly veiled requests or complaints. No more texts asking for money or hinting at upcoming expenses. An unexpected peace settled over me, initially accompanied by a phantom guilt that slowly dissipated. I braced myself for other family members to reach out, influenced by the story my parents and siblings would undoubtedly spread, but the initial wave seemed contained within the core unit. I started consciously redirecting the money I would have sent home and the large sum intended for the mortgage payoff towards myself. I signed up for a pottery class I'd always wanted to take. I booked a weekend trip to a quiet cabin upstate. I started saving aggressively for that down payment on my own place again, this time with a renewed sense of purpose. It wasn't selfish. It was self-preservation. I started spending more time with Sarah. She was a rock, listening without judgment, reminding me that my feelings were valid and my decision was one of strength, not cruelty. We had long conversations about boundaries, about toxic family dynamics, about the difference between obligation and genuine love. She helped me heal. Slowly, I started building my own chosen family. I connected more deeply with friends from work and through my new hobbies. I even started seeing someone, Daniel, a kind and intelligent man I met through a mutual friend. Our relationship was easy, built on mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's lives. It was a stark contrast to the transactional nature of my family relationships, and it showed me what healthy connection felt like. Months later, I got a call from my cousin Aubrey. Aubrey lived on the other side of the country and had always been somewhat detached from the core family drama, making her a relatively neutral source. I hadn't blocked her number. Layla? Hey, she said hesitantly after we'd chatted briefly about general things. Listen, I heard some things. About your parents. And you. I figured you might, I replied, feeling a strange detachment. The news no longer had the power to wound me deeply. What have you heard? Well, she lowered her voice. Chloe's been talking. Saying you just cut everyone off. Abandoned them. Right before Christmas. Says you're being heartless while mom and dad are really struggling. Struggling? I asked. Did she mention why? Aubrey hesitated. She said something about unexpected bills and, well, mom and dad had to sell the boat. You know, the one they barely used. And they're talking about downsizing. Ethan and Chloe are apparently fighting over who has to help more now. She paused. Layla. Chloe mentioned something else. Said you gave them some kind of paper gift for Christmas, and she acted like it was nothing. But then later, she hinted it was actually something huge, something important, and that's why you were mad. Was it really about the house? Did you offer to pay off their mortgage? Hearing Aubrey piece it together, the real story seeping out despite Chloe's attempts to bury it, felt validating. Yes, Aubrey, I confirmed. That's exactly what it was. I gave them the documents to pay off their mortgage, as a gift. And they crumpled the envelope and left it on the counter stained, without even bothering to read it properly. They only realized what it was after I left, and they actually looked inside. Aubrey was quiet for a moment. Wow, she said softly. Okay. Yeah, that changes the story Chloe's telling, doesn't it? I had a feeling there was more to it. Just wanted to let you know what was being said. And, I'm sorry, Layla. That's messed up. I get why you did what you did. Thank you, Aubrey, I said, genuine gratitude in my voice. I appreciate you telling me. And, for understanding. The conversation confirmed that my family was still prioritizing narrative control over truth or reconciliation, but knowing Aubrey saw through it was a small comfort. The rumors didn't really impact my life outside the family circle. My friends knew the truth, or at least, they knew me. They saw my character. The family gossip felt like background noise from a world I no longer inhabited. A few months later, it happened. My mother showed up at my apartment building, buzzcoded her way in somehow, maybe through another resident, or just waiting for someone to open the door. I opened my apartment door without checking the peephole, expecting a delivery. Instead, Mom was standing there, looking frazzled and older than I remembered. She pushed past me before I could react and sank onto my sofa, clutching her purse. Her eyes were red-rimmed. Layla, she began, her voice wavering, trying for fragile. We're in trouble. Real trouble. The downsizing isn't helping enough. Bills are piling up. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof from the stress. A part of me felt a flicker of the old, programmed guilt and sympathy. I quickly suppressed it. Mom, I said, closing the door firmly. Why are you here? We need help, Layla, she pleaded, looking up at me with what she hoped was a pitiable expression. Financial help. You're the only one who can truly help us. After everything. After everything? I sat down opposite her, my voice calm and steady. After everything, like me sending you money for years? After everything, like you treating my most significant gift with utter disregard and tossing it aside? After everything, like you and Chloe spreading lies about me to the rest of the family? Her expression hardened. That's not fair. We made a mistake with the gift. Yes, we should have looked closer. But you're punishing us. We are your parents. We raised you. We sacrificed everything for you. The victim act quickly dissolved into anger. Sacrifices, I repeated, looking her directly in the eye. Tell me, Mom. One sacrifice. One significant thing you have done for me, Layla, in the last 5 years. One time you prioritized my needs, my feelings, my well-being over your own convenience or your expectations of me. She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing. She couldn't name anything. Her face grew redder. You think you're so high and mighty now, don't you? She spat, standing up abruptly. Living in this fancy place, with your money. You think you're better than us. She took a step towards the door. You're going to regret this, Layla. Turning your back on your family. Living alone like this. And don't think just because you've cut us off that things are easy. People talk. Things happen. In a city like this, It helps to have connections. People who look out for you. It wasn't a direct threat, but the implication was clear. Her anger might manifest in trying to cause trouble for me elsewhere in my life. Are you threatening me, Mom? I asked, my voice unwavering. She paused at the door, her hand on the knob. Just stating facts, darling, she said, her voice dripping with malice. Then she yanked the door open and stormed out, letting it slam shut behind her. I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilty. I just felt unclean. The confrontation I had perhaps dreaded on some level was over, and I had navigated it without caving, without being manipulated. Her veiled threat didn't scare me. It simply confirmed her true nature and the necessity of my boundaries. A few weeks later, I ran into my brother, Ethan. It was at a grocery store near my apartment. I was picking up ingredients for a dinner party I was hosting for Sarah and Daniel. He was in the wine aisle, looking stressed and staring at the cheaper bottles. Layla. He looked startled to see me. Ethan, I nodded, not stopping my cart initially. Wait. Layla, can we talk for a second? He sounded desperate. I stopped, sighing internally. What about Ethan? He shifted his weight awkwardly. Mom and Dad. They're really struggling. Like, bad. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. This downsizing thing isn't easy. And, well, Chloe and I are doing what we can, but with our kids, our mortgages, it's tough. He looked at me, his expression a mix of pleading and expectation. They need help, Layla. Financial help. A significant amount. I looked at him. I saw the same entitlement, the same assumption that my single status and higher income automatically made me the solution to their problems, regardless of their past behavior or his and Chloe's own capacity or willingness to help. Ethan, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Remember that Christmas? The cruise you and Chloe got them? The big announcement, the cheers? And my gift? The one that would have paid off their house, given them real security? Remember where I found it? Crumpled on the counter, discarded. His eyes flickered with discomfort. Layla, that was a mistake Mom didn't realize. Doesn't matter if she realized later. I cut in. She didn't value it enough to even open it properly. Just like you and Chloe didn't value it or me. Your showy gift got all the praise, while my life-changing gift was treated like garbage. Remember what you said that night, when you saw I left. I hope you find someone else to handle things here. Well, consider that my official position. You and Chloe have families to support, you said? Good. Then support your own parents. I'm done being the family bank. I gave him a small, sad smile that held no warmth. That Christmas night, finding that envelope, it showed me everything, Ethan. Everything you all truly think of me. And it finally gave me the clarity I needed. You need to figure this out yourselves. I pushed my cart forward, leaving him standing there in the wine aisle. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. There was just a profound sense of peace. The final ties were severed.